Howdy, everyone. How's it going? If you have your Bibles, please open them to Ephesians chapter 4. I thought I had it marked in, but instead I had Galatians. Ephesians chapter 4. Verses 5. We'll probably look at a little bit of all of it. Before we get into it, though, I want to tell you about an idea I have. I'm thinking about opening up a healthy drink store, like a smoothie store. I'm going to have really healthy ingredients in it. I'm going to have kale, Brussels sprouts, and zucchini. And I'm going to blend them all together, and then I'm going to serve it to my customers, and I'm going to tell them how healthy the benefits are. I'm going to tell them that this is going to boost their immune system, their mitochondria will be happy. I'll even get some fancy name to put on it so people will recognize my brand. But it's going to be really good for them. And after a little bit of time of doing this, I'm going to notice that I'm not making a lot of money, because honestly, those three things are kind of gross together. Brussels sprouts. Have you ever eaten Brussels sprouts? It's not good. Buck's Barbecue does wonderful Brussels sprouts that are delicious. But by themselves, yeah, right? He's not even here, but I still plug it. No. And so I think, what's going to make it better if I put some whipped cream on top? Put some whipped cream, and then people will start. And I see my sales go up a bit. Then I add M&Ms and some chocolate syrup to my smoothies, and all of a sudden, I have a wonderful business. Lots of marketing going on, lots of business. And I still tell my customers, like, hey, I have healthy stuff in there. There's Brussels sprouts and zucchinis. But is it really healthy anymore? It's kind of gross, too, if you think about it, Brussels sprouts and M&Ms. Sorry about that one. But the imagery is, God made a perfect thing. God made the church wonderful and pure, and it didn't need any additives. It's not for everyone. Not everyone accepts the Lord's church, but it is a really healthy option. But sometimes we get so into wanting people to show up and to come to things and come to our building that we start adding things that God really didn't need. And so tonight, my devotional really focuses on what God wanted there to be. What is God saying is essential? And we find a really nice list here in Ephesians chapter 4. I'm going to start up in verse 1 because I really love this passage. Therefore, a prisoner for the Lord, I urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Therefore, there is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope that you belong to, you're called. There is one Lord and one faith and one baptism. And there is one God and Father who is in all, or who is over all, and through all, and in all. But grace be given to you according to the measure of Christ's gift. We get to see a really pretty picture here. If we start in verse 1, we see Paul's a prisoner now, but he's walking, and he says, walk in a manner with what? Humility and gentleness. It's really hard to walk pridefully in humility. Yeah, I messed that one up. But it's hard to have those two at the same time. It's hard to be really arrogant and still be humble. And Paul is saying, if you have to choose one, choose humility. And walk in gentleness. Some versions will say meekness here. And meekness is the idea that you have a great power, but it's in control. We have a great power through Christ, but we don't have to flaunt that everywhere. We hold it inside, we let it keep us strong, and we try to help others with it. But we don't use it to condemn people. That's not our job. And then he says, bear with one another in love. That's a hard one. To bear with somebody who's being a real negative person around you can be really difficult. But we're called to keep it, to walk with love. And to bear those things, not to abandon someone when times get hard, but to be there for them. But the most important thing for me is in verse 6, because Paul gives us a list of things that he wants in his church. Like, if we add anything to this list, it's not good. If we add another God, that's not good. If we add another way to get to him besides his son, that's not good. That's the hope of salvation, the hope he's talking about there. It's a hope of getting to him and being with him. If we decide there's another way to get to Jesus than the way he tells us, that's not good. So verse 6, there's one God and one Father who is in all and through all. Nope, I need verse 5. There's one Lord, one faith, and one baptism. Tonight's devotional is pretty simple, but I find it really encouraging. Because our job is not to be members of Summit the building. Our job is to be members of Summit Church of Christ. To examine ourselves daily and to make sure that there is only one faith, one hope, and one baptism here, and in our lives as well. If you have any needs, come now as together we stand and sing.